Welcome to the News El Salvador SV podcast for this Monday, March 16th, 2026. In this space for conversation and reflection, we explore current global events together, the stories you need to know. You can support this project via PayPal or through crypto by leaving a contribution in Bitcoin, Ethereum, or if you prefer, Solana, now enabled. You can find the links and addresses in the description. Find US on your favorite platform. Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn Radio, or YouTube. We are on almost every platform. Share our podcast with your friends.
Glad to be here for this one because we have a lot of ground to cover today.
Yeah, we really do. I mean, imagine a scenario where, like, a single drone strike in the Middle East somehow forces a regional bank in Ohio to completely rewrite its core software.
Right. Sounds like a total stretch.
It does, but that is exactly the map we're unpacking today. Our mission for this deep dive is to look at how a massive collision between geopolitical warfare, macroeconomic pressure, and the digital asset markets is literally rewiring the plumbing of the United States banking system.
Yeah, we're tracking this really profound chain reaction. You've got capital flight, supply chain choke points, and institutional panic, all just converging at the exact same moment.
Before we jump in, though, I need to share a quick but very important note for you listening. The sources we're diving into today contain highly politically charged content.
Very charged, yeah.
Right. We'll be discussing military actions, diplomatic fallout, and direct quotes involving the United States, Israel, Iran, and Donald Trump. And we just want to be absolutely clear up front, we don't take sides, and we definitely don't endorse any of the viewpoints or actions we're discussing.
Exactly. Our focus is strictly analytical.
Right. We're just here to impartially report the facts, break down the ideas from the source material, and basically help you understand the mechanics of what is actually happening.
So keeping it purely on the structural implications of these events.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this. Because surveying the global map right now, it feels like watching a series of tripwires being crossed simultaneously across the globe.
It really does.
Let's start with the physical conflicts, setting this stage for this whole economic domino effect. In the Middle East, the escalation is it's moving at a dizzying pace. We have confirmed reports of Iranian missiles striking just meters away from Benjamin Netanyahu's office in Jerusalem.
Which is a massive escalation. I mean,
Right.
That strike is a direct physical materialization of the threats we saw from the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. It crosses a major psychological threshold.
Right. And Israel responded with severe airstrikes directly in Tehran. And the targets were incredibly specific.
Yeah, they were high level.
Very. We are talking about the killings of Gholam Reza Soleimani, the commander of the Basij militia, and Ali Larijani, who is the secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council.
Wow.
And right around the same time, the United States Embassy in Baghdad faced one of the most intense assaults since this whole conflict began. Rockets and at least 5 drones hitting the area.
It's just constant kinetic friction right now.
It is. But here's the geopolitical detail that really stands out to me. Gulf Arab states are reportedly urging the United States not to stop their military campaign.
Really? Even with the risk of a wider war?
Yeah. They want Iran's ability to threaten regional oil routes completely eliminated. Like, they don't even want a ceasefire discussed until that happens.
Well, logically that makes sense for them because for those Gulf states, the short-term chaos of a regional conflict is actually better than the long-term threat of a closed transit route.
Because of the oil.
Exactly. Their entire sovereign wealth relies on frictionless maritime trade. If Iran can just hold those routes hostage, the Gulf states have zero economic security.
So they're just ripping the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, however violently. It's better than living under that permanent economic sword of Damocles.
Man. And the instability isn't even isolated to the Middle East. Looking eastward, Pakistan just bombed targets in Afghanistan.
Right, another major flashpoint.
Yeah, Pakistan claims they hit military targets, but the Taliban claims a rehab hospital in Kabul was struck, leaving 400 dead.
400? That's... I mean, when you have kinetic events in South Asia concurrently with the Middle East, the global diplomatic bandwidth just snaps.
It's stretched to the breaking point. And then in Europe, Hungary is blocking a €9 billion European Union loan to Ukraine.
Over the pipeline, right?
Exactly. Demanding the Druzhba oil pipeline be reopened first.
Yeah.
Energy being weaponized again. And as if that wasn't enough, tensions are boiling over with Cuba.
Oh, right, the Russia situation.
Yeah, Russia offering aid against the United States blockade. And Donald Trump publicly stated, and I quote, "I can tell you that it would be a great honor to take Cuba."
It's all connected. Every single one of these conflicts revolves around resource control or transit routes. And when you have this much friction globally, the macroeconomy just starts to seize up.
Which brings us to the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, this is the main artery of the global economy. 20% of the world's oil supply flows right through it.
And Iran has effectively closed it.
Closed it, yeah. Though, well, Tehran claims it's open, but only closed to our enemies who perpetrated aggression against them.
Which is, in practical terms, a historic supply disruption. It's a targeted embargo.
Right, because by selectively blocking traffic, shipping insurers just pull coverage for anyone allied with the United States or Israel.
Which functionally halts that 20% of global oil. You just can't move it.
And the political fallout is tearing alliances apart. Donald Trump went on Truth Social, demanding allies join a joint effort to send ships and open the strait.
And how did that go over?
They flatly refused. The United Kingdom, Germany, France, Japan, Australia, all of them declined. A German spokesperson explicitly said, "This is not our war, we did not start it," and added, "It has nothing to do with NATO."
The irony there is just striking. You have a political figure who has historically heavily criticized NATO, now demanding NATO assistance for what European allies view as a war of choice.
Right, and Trump threatened that the lack of response will be very bad for the future of NATO.
It shows a severe breakdown in the foundation of that alliance.
And that breakdown is internal too. Joe Kent, the director of the White House National Counterterrorism Center, just resigned.
That's a massive deal.
It is. In his letter, he said he could not, in good conscience, support the United States war in Iran. He claimed Iran was not an imminent threat and that the war was pushed by pressure from Israel and its lobby.
Look, having your counterterrorism director resign over the justification of a war, financial markets absolutely despise that kind of crisis of confidence.
They definitely do.
The risk premium on global stability and United States leadership is going through the roof right now.
Well, we are going to look exactly at how the markets are pricing in that risk in just a second. But first, a quick reminder that you are listening to the new WS El Salvador SV podcast. If you're finding this deep dive valuable, remember you can support this project via PayPal. The links are right there in the description.
So getting back to the markets, we have this physical reality of a war choking off 20% of global oil.
Right, which translates directly into inflation fears in the real economy. And that is an impossible dilemma for the Federal Reserve right now.
Because inflation in the United States had cooled to 2.4%, right?
Exactly, 2.4%. But with oil spiking, the fear is inflation rips higher. And the Fed is meeting soon. Nick Tamaros, who is widely known as the Fed mouthpiece, reports they'll likely stay quiet on rate cuts because of these war-driven inflation fears.
Makes sense. The futures markets are pricing in a 99% chance that rates stay completely unchanged at 3.50% to 3.75%.
99% chance. But then, on the political side, Donald Trump is demanding an immediately scheduled special meeting to cut rates.
Of course.
He literally stated, "What's a better time to cut interest rates than now?" A third-grade student would know that. He wants cuts to service the $39 trillion United States debt and to lower mortgage rates, which are sitting over 6.11%.
This is the ultimate macroeconomic trap. The central bank is fighting inflation fueled by an oil shock, while the politicians are demanding cheap money to manage an overwhelming sovereign debt burden.
So let me ask you this. If the Fed actually yields to this unprecedented political pressure, does the market interpret that as a total loss of the central bank's autonomy?
Oh, absolutely. The market would instantly assume the Fed has been subordinated to political needs. And historically, when a sovereign nation prioritizes debt servicing over the stability of its currency,
investors flee the currency.
Exactly. They know debasement is mathematically the only way out, which perfectly explains the massive reallocation of capital we're seeing.
Right, because traditional markets are spooked. The S&P 500, the NASDAQ, they're suffering. And even gold is taking a hit, down about $400 since the United States began bombing Iran.
Which catches a lot of legacy investors off guard. Gold dropping during a geopolitical crisis is weird.
Wait, yeah, really? Because usually gold is the ultimate safe haven, right?
Right.
Why is gold bleeding while Bitcoin is surging to a monthly high, breaking past $75,000?
It's all about logistics and debasement. Well, moving physical gold across borders during a kinetic global conflict is incredibly difficult. Plus, institutions are front-running the Fed. They anticipate the central bank will eventually print more money to service that $39 trillion debt.
So they move to digital scarcity.
Exactly. It transfers globally in minutes, bypassing the physical choke points of a world at war. We're seeing massive institutional validation here. I mean, BlackRock just bought $600 million in Bitcoin.
Wow, 600 million.
Yeah.
And the technical analysis is backing this up. The Bollinger Bands on Bitcoin's monthly chart are at their tightest squeeze in history.
Which means it's like a tightly coiled spring.
Right. A breakout of a symmetrical triangle points to a target of $84,500. But looking at the on-chain data, there's heavy resistance between $83,000 and $85,000.
Yeah, that's where short-term holders accumulated over 898,000 Bitcoin previously.
So there's a huge wall of supply there to chew through. But it's not just Bitcoin. Ethereum is surging too, up 9% to over $2,300.
Breaking key moving averages.
Right, the 20 and 50-day moving averages. Analysts are targeting $2,800 based on previous heavy buying zones.
What's fascinating here is that this broad crypto rally tells us investors are aggressively looking for alternate financial infrastructure. Networks that operate 24/7 and are completely immune to the Strait of Hormuz or the White House.
And traditional banks are watching this massive flight of capital. They're seeing liquidity drain from their databases into crypto, and they're finally fighting back with blockchain.
They have to. A legacy database just can't compete with the settlement speed of a blockchain.
So a group of United States regional banks, Huntington Bank Shares, First Horizon, M&T Bank, Key Corp, they are launching the Carastri network in 2026.
And the tech they are using is the real story here.
Right, it's built on a layer 2 blockchain called ZK Sync.
Using a private infrastructure called Providium by Matter Labs.
So they get the 24/7 instant settlement like stablecoins, but keeping the funds within the regulated banking system.
And fully under FDIC insurance. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is traditional finance, realizing they must upgrade from siloed databases to shared ledgers, or they risk losing their deposits completely.
It's a breathtaking causality loop when you step back. Physical missiles in the Middle East choke oil in the Strait of Hormuz. That traps the Fed with inflation, which angers politicians wanting cheap money for debt.
Yep.
That standoff drives investors into Bitcoin to escape debasement. And that liquidity drain literally forces legacy United States banks onto the blockchain.
It leaves you as a final thought to really ponder today. If traditional banks are rushing to issue their own blockchain deposits, while sovereign nations wage kinetic wars over physical oil choke points, are we witnessing the beginning of a world where digital value is finally completely separated from physical geography and government control?
Man, that is a profound thought to leave on. Thank you so much for joining us and unpacking this with me.
My pleasure. It's been a great conversation.
And thank you all for listening. As always, you've been listening to the New WS El Salvador SV podcast. Remember, you can support this project via PayPal or with crypto. All the links are in the description. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.